Good morning. I have Bruce here, but usually Bruce comes in by himself from the school district, and today he has two people with him. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
I have Hilary, Molly, and Bruce.
Yeah, all three of us.
Yes. Well, you wanted to start off talking about Charity Drive because that's looming very quickly.
Yes,
it is
it
literally
is.
a week from tomorrow.
Yes,
Mm-hmm. Which
of
means
course,
next
all
Thursday.
sorts of plans have been, running wild here
You
lately.
can move Yeah, there you
okay,
go.
There.
That's better.
And so 1 week from tomorrow, so February 9th will be the kickoff.
Mm-hmm.
And remember on Charity Drive that activities always have to be outside of school time.
Right.
So at 4:01 on February 9th, we can start Charity Drive activities.
Mm-hmm.
And then it'll go through then that President's Day weekend. So
Right.
it'll go across 2 weekends.
Which the kids don't have school on that Friday or Monday, I think, right? For President's Day?
You're
Pretty
right,
sure.
because it's an in-service. That's right. So the 16th is an in-service.
The Friday, yep.
Teachers are in, students are out. And then Monday's the holiday.
Right.
And so, so that'll be a big event weekend, I'm sure. And then Coronation is the 21st.
Okay.
Which is the Wednesday. So it'll be, like we've done now for several years, an alumni game following the Coronation.
And a week from today, all the craziness of all the prince and princesses will be here.
Yep.
Talking about everything that's going on.
Yeah, so
next
noticed
Thursday, get a pen
I
and
noticed
paper.
in the gym at the game Tuesday night, there was already one, I think it was sophomores or something, but there was already one big banner up with all the
Like their calendar of events.
calendar of events, and I think it was Finding Nemo theme was there, so not sure what
should be
that
fun.
meant.
Charity
Yeah.
Drive's always a fun time.
And just a lot of times we get questions, so as always, we will have a portion of the proceeds will go to Dornbecker.
Yep.
A portion will stay in the community for local charities to apply for, and then a portion will go to college scholarships.
Right.
So for seniors, if they're interested in applying for that, they need to connect with a counselor or Kelly Hudenpyle at the high school. Same process as always. And for local charities, the applications, we always have them do the same day as tax day because it's a really easy day. So we always say April 15th. That happens to be a Saturday this year.
It's actually a Sunday, but
Anyway,
yeah.
so it'll
it's
be
over the
due
weekend.
That following,
Yeah.
It'll be due that following
Monday.
And we'll get that information out. We usually push that information out as soon as the charity drive
You
is
usually
done.
talk about it when you're in,
Yes.
and then I think it's in the paper.
We put it into the paper and we'll put it on Facebook and different
Yeah.
places so
Yeah.
that different groups can start getting their applications together.
If you're new in town and you have no idea what we're talking about, hang on to your hat.
Yeah, it is all invasive.
It's a little crazy.
It goes everywhere.
Yep. Car washes and dinners, and that's it. You don't have to cook anything. I mean, there's
That's right.
literally
You
breakfast,
can-
lunch, and dinner
that's right.
just about every day.
Yep. You can go out to eat and find all sorts of different varieties of things to tackle out there. So
It's
lot
a
of
fun time.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, it is a fun time. So who do we want to start with? Hilary and some of the things that she's doing?
Let's start with Molly.
Okay.
And in the past, you and I have talked about, I've kind of several times mentioned some of the things that we're working on in the school district the last few years around trauma-informed practice, around working with students and understanding how children raised in situations where different struggles happen within their lives that a lot of times then when they start the school process, they're impacted by that.
Right.
There are behavioral things, there are learning kinds of things. And we've spent a lot of time the last 2 or 3 years as a district both understanding that and then building and implementing strategies into our classrooms, into our schools to help make that make the schools a better place for all the students, including. And so rather than continuing to punish, continuing to discipline, to pushing kids outside of school, really working on keeping kids in school, keeping kids in classrooms, working on finding ways for students to regulate emotions, identifying regulate emotions and things like that. And so one of the things that came as we kind of started talking about that with community members is that many teachers they run their classroom and they have things going on in their classroom and they know how to teach things in their classroom. But a lot of this issue happens outside of the school and outside of the classroom, and families need help to get connected, and students and families. And so out of that work has arisen this new position that Molly is in, and we have called it a family resource coordinator. And it's a position that has been grant funded from Columbia Pacific Coordinated Care Organization in Portland for this year and next year to kind of start building some connections in the community. So I'm going to quit talking. That's kind of the background of it. And I'll let Molly kind of describe what this looks like in practice and how this is kind of taken off this year.
Over to you, Molly.
Okay, thanks, Bruce.
Thanks for the introduction.
Thank
I'll be
you.
here all night. So what does this position look like? Tell me about it.
All right. Well, the main part of my job is to meet with families, parents, usually parents or primary guardian in the family, and to establish a relationship with them and to help find out what barriers are happening outside of school that could possibly be affecting their child being successful in school. And so the idea is that I could help coordinate services, social services for them, or help identify what basic needs they might need. Just anything that could be going on in the family outside of school to help them be more successful.
That might be affecting them at school.
Correct. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So I assume, do you work with like the counseling centers and the food banks and things like that? Like some of those other organizations in town?
Yes. Coordinating services with all of the different helping agencies in the community. Tillamook Family Counseling Center, OSU Extension. We've got some partnership stuff going on with them in terms of providing nutrition education.
Sure.
We've got a cooking class going with some of the students at Wilson River School right now through
Oh,
OSU
cool.
Extension. Yep. And the food banks for sure, the different food pantries around town, DHS, Women's Resource Center, just on and on. There are so many different
so you kind of have your
opportunities
hands connected to a lot of different groups that can help out.
Yes.
And you actually answered my question unintentionally. I was going to ask, I assume you're for the whole district, right? So
Yes, K through 12. Yep.
Everybody,
Yep.
right? All the schools. So do you go into the schools, or how do people get in touch with you, or how do you know that there's a
I do.
student?
I visit all the different schools, primarily get referrals from building administrators and school counselors. So they'll reach out to me and let me know that there's a family in need, and then it's up to me to then reach out to the family,
Right.
help coordinate services, communicate with the appropriate people in the school district so that everybody's working together
And kind of
on
aware
the
of what's going
same
on. So,
page.
yeah,
Yep,
exactly.
And all in an effort to help that student be more successful at
Very
school and
cool.
reach their potential. Yeah.
So September, is that when this program started?
October is when I started, about mid-October.
Yeah.
So it's
have
really
you?
new.
I'm curious. I don't know that it's been long enough to really see a huge impact, but have you seen it working?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yep. There have
I'm sure
been
the teachers
small
especially.
successes for sure,
Yeah.
and over time, I mean, it's definitely going to be a process, and over time, I really feel that it's going to make a difference to these families
sure.
and to the kids.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Because when you're worried about, what does the food bank calls it? Food insecure? Is that what they call it? When you're worried about going home because you're not sure if you're going to eat, or you're going to be something's going to happen at home, or you're scared to go home. Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine having that burden. And for like a younger kid who doesn't really know how to deal with that emotionally.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
going to really affect their ability to focus and
learn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
And then acting out. And so I'm sure it helps with a lot of behavioral problems too.
That's the idea. Mhm.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. That's a really, really neat thing. How did this come about again? You want to take it away, Bruce? I know they're so loud when you move them, the microphone.
So again, as we started this work, it became really apparent when you start hearing about the impact of trauma, and you start hearing from experts who have, from a medical, psychological, physiological standpoint. As an educator, you say, "Oh yeah, I see that. Oh yeah, I understand. I mean, I get that because I have kids that I interact with.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense." But what the next level is, so now what do I do about it?
Right.
Because I've been trained how to teach math, or I've been trained how to teach English or reading or whatever, but I'm not a social worker. I don't have connections in the community to all these different groups and things,
Right.
So it really arose out of that next step of, well, then what do we do about this? Yeah, we can do some things in class to help manage some of the, some of the behaviors and things like that.
Right.
But in terms of actually resourcing and connecting families, it needed to be involved with people not in a classroom and not educators necessarily, but people that could connect with all the different kinds of services. And it's really a shift. Most of us grew up with, if you acted up in school, your parents got a call,
right.
You're in trouble.
You got detention.
You got suspended. That's kind of the traditional way that you deal with students that act up in school. And it's pretty adversarial in terms of school district and parents. It's like, again, I've been a vice principal. I've made many, many phone calls, and you kind of say, okay, Mr. So-and-so, your kid acted up and he's going to be suspended 3 days. That's not the greatest way to build relationships with families. Right. And yet we've
especially
done
when
that
that's
way
the
for
only
many.
relationship that you're building. Yeah.
This is way more positive. It's way more interactive. It's way more like, let's get together and work together and let's connect and let's see what's going on and all the different ways that we can help that.
Well, the behavior is just a symptom of what's really going on. So if you can really take care of the root issue, then it should take care of some of those symptoms.
Yeah.
That's a really cool thing. I'll be interested to hear kind of how that plays itself out over the
And so right now we have grant money for this year, next year. It's certainly, our intention certainly is, it's not like the position's going to go away after 2 years. It's our full intention is that that's going to continue on.
Yeah.
And we'll see money-wise where that all comes from.
Right.
But right now we have funding secured for this year and next year for this position. So we're thrilled. It's a great way for the district to connect to different organizations in the community, which Tillamook, we try to do that in a number of areas. And it's just a great way, like I said, to build positive relationships with families.
Yeah. I do feel like this community, and I say it all the time, we are so resourceful, and there are so many great partnerships that happen. Everyone's always looking, how can I help? What can I do? So yeah, this is just another example of that, reaching out and trying to figure out how to solve a problem.
Very much so.
Get the whole community involved. Very cool. I need to take a quick break, and then maybe we can jump over to Hilary in the dog dress. It's cute. I keep looking at your dress going, oh, she's got little dachshunds on there. If one of your goals this year includes going back to school to finish or start your degree, then Tillamook Bay Community College is here to help you. Whether you need to earn your GED, get started on a bachelor's degree, master a few new skills, or need to learn English as a second language, TBCC can help get you started. All it takes is logging on to tillamookbaycc.edu to learn about the many degree options, certifications, and trainings they have to offer. Spring term starts soon, and registration, I think, is at the end of April, so there's no better time to get started and really no better way to help yourself this year than with an education from TBCC. Register now at tillamookbaycc.edu or stop by the main campus on 3rd Street to have all your questions answered. No, I think registration actually starts at the end of February, which it's February 1st. How did that happen?
Yeah. Crazy, isn't it?
I don't understand. I really don't.
Which means, teachers and students are already thinking about spring break.
I'm already thinking about
next month now.
Yeah, right. Oh, that's true. Yeah, it's next month.
Yeah.
Technically, it's still 2 months away, and we were
Not
just
in our
talking.
hearts.
No.
Yeah, right. We were just talking yesterday about spring break is really weird this year because the Sunday of spring break is April Fool's and Easter.
And Easter all at once.
Yeah.
And it's on break time. It's not,
Yeah, it's really, Easter was really early this year, just based on the moon or whatever. So, yeah, it's kind of weird. And yeah, April Fool's and Easter are on the same day this year.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. So I'm talking with some folks from the school district. We have Bruce, who's in here every first Thursday, Molly, and Hilary. And we're going to jump over to Hilary to talk about her role in the school district. Do you want to give her a brief introduction?
Sure.
Because you do a lovely job.
He does.
And again, as we've looked at all of these different, again, this trauma-informed work and all the different things that happen, one of the things you realize is that as teachers, as educators, when you are working with students that are struggling in their own lives and going through a lot of these different things, it's stressful on you.
Sure.
It's hard as an educator who, you see kids every single day and you love these kids through 170, 7 days.
Right. They
of
become
school.
your
They
kids.
become your kids.
Sure.
Yes. And so I'll say it's stressful. There's that whole term of vicarious trauma that as you work with children and different students and have them talk to you and describe things that are going on, it's hard. It's hard. And so one aspect that we've taken a look at, and Hilary will talk about then, is staff wellness and taking care of us as a staff, as adults.
Right.
And so I'll let her describe some of the things that we have going and some of our ideas around that.
Cool. Take it away, Hilary.
Okay, so as Bruce was saying, sort of when we started doing the trauma-informed work in the district, one of the things we noticed pretty quickly was that we needed to find ways to take care of staff.
Which because we keep referencing that, and you and I talked about it a while ago, but can we talk about what the trauma-informed work was? Because there were workshops, right? Or like in-service days where you guys had training on it. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've kind of been involved in several different different trainings, but it all basically started, and Bruce, you can jump in if I'm not giving this information correctly. So it basically started when a group of folks from the district participated in the ACES Collaborative, which was a group of administrators, teachers, superintendents from throughout the state to sort of learn about how trauma impacts kids in school. So that was kind of a starting off point. Last year, we continued that work within our own district with training all of our staff over the course of our in-service days about adverse childhood experiences and about some strategies to use within the classroom that would serve and benefit all students. And kind of since then, we've taken it all different directions. We have a group of folks who have participated in a series of courses through George Fox University about trauma-informed practices. Those have mostly been elementary staff members, teachers. And then we also, just starting this summer, have had a group of folks from junior high and high school do some training on the Discovery Program, which is a social-emotional learning program.
Yes. Melissa Radcliffe was talking about it.
Yep. So those are just sort of some of the actions and kind of trainings that our staff have been involved in, and there's so many others that it's kind of hard at this point to do a list.
But I kind of wanted people to understand what I mean. We've mentioned it, and I know I understand because we've talked about it before. But if someone's listening, like, what are they talking about? Like, it's a pretty well-rounded program that has been going on for a while.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the idea is, like Bruce was saying earlier, some of the traditional practices have really not served all of our students and their families.
Right.
And we want to find ways that we can help every single one of our students be successful.
Yeah.
And again, it's really a departure from kind of their traditional thinking that I teach math, I teach reading, I teach social studies or whatever, and all these other things that I don't have any control over, I'm just going to ignore.
Right.
And I'm just going to teach my curriculum, and the kids are going to learn it. That's kind of the old school. I'll say the traditional thinking is you have control over some things, you don't over others.
Right.
And so I'm just going to work on what I have control over. This is kind of more like, look, the child, certainly there's a learning component aspect to every child. There's also a social side to every child. There's a family side. There's what happens outside of school, what happens in. It's kind of that whole child. We're going to take a look. So we're not looking at how students learn how to read and write and math and all. We're trying to take a look at all the different aspects.
Right.
And it's a big load. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's easier only to look at reading.
Oh, sure.
It's
And
not as
this
effective.
is all I'm teaching.
That's right.
Yep.
I'm just doing this. It's way messier to step into the whole child world.
Sure.
But it's more effective, and especially when you start incorporating some of these other things that Molly and Hilary has offered to all the different aspects, both adults and children in the system.
So let's go back to the adults.
Yeah.
Why you were intentionally here to talk. The original intention.
I think that whole person sort of thing that Bruce was saying also really applies to our teachers. You know, teachers have a tough job.
Yep.
And there are so many folks within our district that dedicate hours and hours beyond their contract time in order to serve our students. So one of the things that we have been looking at is how we can help provide supports to our teachers with their physical health, emotional health, sort of overall well-being. And one of the ways that we have been able to do that starting this year was that we were able to get an OEA Choice Employee Wellness Grant. So that is a grant that is sort of geared toward employee wellness, but not just in sort of a physical fitness kind of way, but in every aspect of the employee's well-being. So we've had we've been able with those grant funds to pay for some physical fitness classes for staff, some community building activities, some outdoor activities. Each building was able to apply for a mini grant to sort of work on the things that staff thought that they needed to improve their employee wellness. So those sort of range from things like a water bottle filling station to healthy staff snacks in the teacher's lounge. The high school is doing several kind of community and staff morale building activities. So there's a huge range of things that grant is kind of paying for to work on that staff side. If we're asking all of these things of staff, if we want them to support kids and their families, then, you know, we need to build a culture that embraces staff wellness too.
Well, it's hard to kind of dive into someone else's personal life when you yourself are not healthy.
Exactly.
And so, to make sure that they're all, you know, ready and able and have that ability to, I don't want to say take on somebody else's problem, but you do a little bit when you dive into them and someone tells you what's going on in their life. You know, you take a little bit of that on.
And some of the things that we've also been doing to support in that way is we've worked with Tillamook County Women's Resource Center quite a bit on some staff training that's been mostly elective, but to work on how to kind of manage helping others while not
taking it on.
Yeah. So the trauma stewardship piece to that.
Cool.
We've seen a lot of good success even so far with our wellness program. We did a walking challenge a couple months ago.
Nice.
And I think we had like 120.
Steps?
Like a step challenge. We had over half our staff. I think it was like 125 or 30 people participated for the whole month challenge. The junior high, I think, ended up being the winners of the step challenge. But just, you know, anything that we can do to get staff involved and active and kind of thinking about their own wellness and ways that we can support their self-care.
Right. Well, and it also instills a sense of community. I'm not just walking in, teaching my classes, leaving, and going home. There's this community of people that are all kind of working towards the same thing.
Absolutely.
Very cool. Which is, you know, everybody wants that in a job.
Yeah,
and I'll say, you have family.
Yeah, one of my other roles is working with the beginning teachers. That oftentimes we end up hiring teachers right out of college, and they come, and so it's their first, you know, teaching position, and most often they don't come from Tillamook. I mean, although we have hired some that have graduated from Tillamook, but many are moving to the coast for the first time.
Sure.
Many times they're moving to a small town for the first time. And that idea that you just mentioned, Lisa, of fitting in and feeling like you belong. And so again, we want our students and families to feel like they belong to the community. We want our staff to feel like they belong to the community. So besides being, you know, psychologically better, besides being physically better, we want people to feel socially connected within our school and within the community. So this is that's just one more way that we can kind of build some of those networks for people.
Well, and you mentioned the different schools asking for different things, because I could imagine the needs of the teachers at like South Prairie are probably way different than the needs of the teachers at the high school. Because I mean, essentially they're young adults, so they have their own ideas. The kids do.
Yep.
Versus, South Prairie, they're still real young and looking at you like you're the end all be all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the stresses are different at those different levels. Yeah.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's one of the cool things about the way that this grant works is that staff are really involved in the decision-making process of how those funds are spent. So the mini grants are kind of part of that, so that everyone has a voice and a say in what they need and what will work for them.
Cool. So this is also a new program for this year then.
It is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So just start. So again, it will be interesting to kind of see how the year plays out and how things are going. And I assume the intention is to continue it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Actually, the grant is the organization that funds this, OEA Choice Trust, commits 5 years, up to 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so the idea being that you build the plan to start with, and then you kind of take a look and see how it worked and adjust it to the next year, and then you build on what you've done. And so so it's kind of from 3 to 5 years, depending on how you play it out. But for sure, at least 2 more years we'll have a chance to work with this and have funds for it.
And I assume the teachers and the staff are thrilled about it. I mean, it sounds really cool.
Yeah,
Like
we've had really good participation, and yeah.
Fun.
And I'll say one more element that we're adding is, so teachers, certainly it's stressful, but administrators, it's hard being administrator. It's hard being a principal, assistant principal, superintendent, all the different managerial roles that come up.
Right.
And so there is, next Tuesday, we're going to have a time at the end of our monthly administrative meeting, we're going to take some time to kind of deconstruct what it takes to be a leader in a school, and kind of provide some support and energy, hopefully, to the leadership in the district as well.
Well, it's always nice to connect with people. I mean, the principals are all in their own little, their schools, and sometimes you get in your little silo. And it's interesting always when you talk to someone that you don't think has anything in common. Like, here's a problem that I have, but it's just related to my job. And then you talk to someone else and they're like, oh no, I have that problem too. And you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I'm not alone?
That's right.
Or they figured out how to deal with the problem, or they have some ideas. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
so
always
that's
nice.
the goal there too, is that our leaders need support, our principals and assistant principals and deans, that they need a place to share and gain support and maybe laugh together, maybe cry together, that kind of thing. So
Laugh and cry at the same time.
we've all done it.
Oh, yes. We have just 1 minute left. Is there anything else we want to talk about? Should we mention Charity Drive again?
Well, we certainly could, because it's going to come,
Fast
in a
and
wave
furious.
in a week, and so just be prepared for that. And I don't know if what I don't know is where full schedules appear. Does anybody know?
Usually in the shopper. I know the
Okay.
shopper usually runs it. Excuse me, I have a frog in my throat this morning. I know it's always in the shopper. I think sometimes it's in the headlight. And I don't know, Croy Swanson last year did a website for Charity Drive, but I don't, as his senior project, but I don't know if it's been updated. I haven't looked at it.
Check that out.
Yeah.
So and people can check Facebook page and the district Facebook page, and I know there's always a full 12-day schedule that's built and publicized.
And usually each class has their own 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, so you can always try to track somebody down and get a copy of that somewhere. Usually I see them on Facebook, someone takes a picture and then posts it. And then we'll have all of them here, all of the prince and princesses, next Thursday. We don't generally get through all the schedules, so we try to pick and choose because they get about 5 minutes each. So, hey, thanks so much for coming in. This was a great interview.
Yeah,
I learned a lot today. Let's see. Senior meals, don't forget about them. Every weekday at the Kiowanda Community Center in Pacific City, as well as the Tillamook Senior Center at 4th and Stillwell. Cost is $3 for seniors and $6.75 for everyone else. The NCRD is holding a Winterfest concert this weekend, Friday through Sunday. On Friday, Kevin Burke and Castletown will be in for a winter concert from 7:30 to 9:30. Kevin is an Irish fiddle virtuoso returning from his Ireland tour, and Castletown is a high-energy fiddle, guitar, and drums band. On Saturday, there's 2 concerts. The first one's at 1:30, which is Terry Robb, an acoustic guitarist with many accolades, including a Grammy nomination and music scores in movies. And then at 7:30 is Quarter Flash, one of Oregon's most famous bands. And on Sunday at 2 is a jazz legend, Mel Brown, and his talented quartet. Tickets are available at tickettomato.com or at the door. And tomorrow we'll have someone here from the Farm Bureau. Thanks again, guys, for coming in this morning.
Always a
Thank
pleasure,
you.
Lisa.
Yeah. And thank you, Tillamook, for listening.